Aware that the underworld were determined to destroy the case against Glennon, Davis took action.
Mr. Davis was concerned about the safety of the gun and did not want the gun in Tube Road Police Station, and therefore advised the senior investigating officer that the gun should be lodged at headquarters in the firearms department, and he personally went from Tube Road Police Station to the Liverpool City Centre and lodged it at the firearms department, where it was securely lodged.
But Davis failed to tell anyone an attempt had been made to bribe him. After 30 years as a detective, he felt he was capable of handling the situation alone. It was a significant error of judgment, because Operation Admiral already knew he'd been approached.
If you're thinking about an officer who has been approached, then he or she has got to know that they are more likely to be criticised for failing to report that approach than they are for not doing so. In other words, that they will be welcomed if they report the fact that something has gone wrong, that they will be supported, and that the mechanism of the service will swing in behind them rather than against them.
But Davis was never asked to explain the approach he'd rejected. The investigation against him was underway. The Deputy Chief Constable authorised a wiretap to record every call Davis made at work. A surveillance camera was hidden in his office.
The whole of the investigation, as far as Elmore can see, they were just out to get him, no matter what. They would use any means whatsoever to nail him to the wall.
For months, the secret monitoring on DCI Davis at work failed to produce any evidence that he was corrupt. And still the surveillance continued.
I think at the end of the day, it comes down to a clash of personalities. Elmore Davis is a larger-than-life character. He's not too strong on toeing the party line, and he's made a lot of enemies, especially amongst senior officers who don't like his brash character. The original Mr. Medallion Man.
Would it surprise you that I've got nothing prepared? You know, it's like a morning briefing in a drug squad, you know, when you come in and you look like a bag of shite. It's quite a typical morning, really. When you've got nothing prepared, you know, and you just come and you do it, you know, because that's what the police force is paying me for. But at the end of the day, you know, as you all know, those that know me know that I always speak from the heart. It doesn't half piss off a lot of people. Well, life's a bitch, you know, and life's just unlucky, but I always speak from the heart, and I always say what I've got to say, whether people like it or not. You know, that's why my life is all fucked up.
Unfortunately, there are people in this world who use situations like that, and having heard a way out thing said, they'll put that down as authentic in their mental notes to be used at a later date, you know, that sort of thing. That's Ellie in a nutshell. He'll always give a joke and take a joke, and usually he's capable of putting it out in a manner that people will understand that it is a joke.
The Merseyside police chose to carry out the corruption investigation themselves and not to bring in an outside force.
One of the problems of a police force investigating its own police officers is what, with a very, very small p, I would call prejudice. Now, rumours can often be wrong. It can be the currency in a police force. For example, because somebody shows off a bit in the police canteen, that they're a bit fly, a bit wide of the mark, a bit more broad-minded than they should be. And that kind of view can build up into quite a serious prejudice. When an allegation of corruption is made, the no smoke without fire adage becomes extremely powerful. Investigation of a senior officer by other senior officers in the same force, therefore, can be infected sometimes by a pre-conviction that they're guilty. I don't claim that that's happened in any particular case, but it is obviously a danger.
Throughout the summer of 1996, the Operation Admiral team also secretly filmed Ellie Davis's flat. They noted that a regular visitor was Mike Ahern, a local celebrity.
Hi, my name's Mike Ahern, better known as Warrior from the Gladiators. But you probably don't recognise me without my little lycra suit on. This is my front room, and this is where I come to relax and chill out, watch some TV, listen to some tapes.
Mike bought a house quite near Elmo, and he called round, went round to Elmo's house for some reason, other than probably just friendship, cup of tea, whatever. And Mike was having the house altered, decorated and changed.
The house was crying out to be taken back to its original form. The house was built in 1828, so it's a Regency style. And as you can see from the ceilings, I put a lot of colour back into the ceilings and put a fireplace in and some nice pictures around the room.
Whilst his house was being decorated, the Gladiator lived with Ellie Davis for nearly a year.
They became very close. And that relationship blossomed into, you could almost say it was a brotherly relationship, whereby they trusted each other, and when one went to work and came home, and if he had something to unburden, he would unburden it. If he had some joyous thing to say, he would tell it. It was, I won't say it was like a husband and wife relationship, but it was that sort of thing. At least one had somebody to talk, they each had somebody to talk to and discuss things with after a day at the office.
Another one bites the dust. Ellie would be attracted to people who were famous because they would give him the opportunity to remain, if not the centre of attraction, but close to the person who was the centre of attraction. And the one thing about the Ellie Davis case that didn't surprise me was that there was a television personality involved. That was Ellie. If you walked into a room with Ellie and he saw the television personality, he'd be straight there. He wouldn't hesitate, because that was Ellie. And that's not a criticism of Ellie, that was simply Ellie's character.
But it would prove to be a fatal attraction. Before he was famous, Ahern had worked as a club doorman with Curtis Warren.
I recall one conversation I had with Ellie late one night in which he was explaining to me that Mike Ahern was in fact a close friend of Curtis Warren. And he said to me that Curtis Warren had been around at Mike's house, and Ellie, being a friend of Mike's, was furious with him, and he warned him of the repercussions of this if it was ever found out. I think he was worried that the connection might one day get back to him. Elmo Davis was a man who was known to be friends with Warrior. It was known around Merseyside that the two were friends. If it became known that Mike Ahern was a friend with Merseyside's biggest ever drug dealer, it wouldn't look good for Ellie, the man who is the former deputy head of Merseyside Police Drug Squad.
The Gladiator was also friendly with Tony Bray, Warren's henchman in Liverpool. Bray often visited his home to play snooker.
Now, a lot of people would expect us to have a gym down here, but I'm a little bit sick of that. Snooker, pool, darts, have some friends around, we can have a good time.
For the gangsters, Ahern's close friendship with Ellie Davis was crucial. If anyone could persuade Davis to cross sides, it would be the Gladiator. Operation Admiral were convinced that Bray had promised Ahern a handsome reward if he would help them.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed the house as much as I've enjoyed showing you. So if you're ever in the area, pop in, game of snooker, and I'll take some money off you. See you.
Just putting aside my client's case, Elmo Davis's case, for 1 minute, it's become clear to me over the past 2 years that one of the great difficulties of police officers is social contact. Who should they mix with? What's the criteria? The difficulties they have in mixing with people outside the force, whether people basically pursue social contact with them for a reason that isn't right and proper. And it's a very, very difficult position for police officers, whether you don't know who's living next door to you, you don't know the background.